All right, I believe we do have Ademola now. Ademola, can you hear me?
Yeah, you clearly.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good to have you. So tell us, how was the auction on Monday? How successful was it?
Yeah, so on Monday, we saw the DMO offer what was a historical 2.5 trillion across the 2034 as well as the 2031 paper. Following that, what we saw in terms of the stock rates was we saw them close at about 18.50 and 19% respectively. These are historical highs for 7-year and 10-year papers. The total subscription stood at about 1.9 trillion. So this was undersubscribed from the 2.5 trillion initially offered. And we saw them sell about 1.49 trillion from this. So again, another good move from the DMO. We're aware that there's an NTP auction today. So we await to see further traction in terms of where the stock rates are going to be. There's about 256 billion, which is going to be offered at the NTP auction today.
So can we at this point determine how much of it was FDP or how much, was from local investors?
So I think it was significantly from local players that we saw within this market. As we know, most of the FPIs are looking to play within, especially the NTB auction, as they're looking at more short-term investments. So anything from the 91 to 364 day. So this was mostly subscribed by local players, was what we saw within the auction on Monday.
So do we see this feeding into inflation? We know that the government is trying to use this as an instrument to also mop up liquidity in the economy. Do we see this as a success towards that?
So I think we can look at it as a success, and I think I'll look at it from 2 points. One is in terms of providing more FX supply into the market. If we look back at the the NTP auction that took place about 2 weeks ago, where about 1 trillion was offered, market liquidity that week stood at about 2.1 billion dollars, essentially, which was a good drive in terms of inviting a lot of FPIs to play within this space. And looking at it from a market liquidity standpoint, again, I think it's a good move in terms of mopping off market liquidity. We're going to expect those figures to drop slightly today. Today it stands at about 195 billion in the credits, but we know that the NTB auction settlement is going to the bond auction settlement is going to take place today, and that's going to further reduce market liquidity that we're seeing within the system, as well as the NTB auction, which is taking place as well.
But can we say it has done some good when it comes to FX liquidity, since it's mostly domestic investors?
So I think in terms of looking at it from an FX standpoint, I think what I'd be watching is to see what happens within the NTB auction today. We know that there's about 256 billion, which is on offer. So we're waiting to see if the DMO is going to oversell, because as we expect, this will be largely oversubscribed. So we'll wait to see what happens there. If this is oversubscribed, then we can expect to see more attractive rates. We know a key indicator for a lot of all these FPIs, especially within the last auction, was the attractive yields that they saw. At the last NTP auction, they stopped at about 19% for the 364 day, and the 182 was about 18%. So for a lot of FPIs, they'd be watching patiently in terms of what is happening, especially within that NTP auction that happens today.
What's the yield looking like from yesterday even up to today's bond trade?
So we're seeing rates at about 18% within the market is what we're seeing today. So again, kind of a good return on investments for a number of key players within that market.
What are your expectations at the close of the trade that we're having today? What do you expect, especially when you also look at, we're trying to get FX liquidity, so the foreign guys and then the domestic investors.
So is this in regards to the NTB option specifically?
Yes.
Okay. So I think so for today, I'm expecting we would see rates hopefully closer to what we saw at the last NTB auction. It might not stop at 19% just quite, but if it's anything close, I would expect to see a lot of significant players, especially as FPIs, play within this market. So we should see our FX figures slightly increase. So that would definitely help us as a country. We know that a key indicator for why we've been seeing a number of depreciation, especially for the NAPEX, has been that supply issue, as we have demand significantly outweighing supply. So if we can see rates close at about 17-18%, I think that would be a good move in terms of providing more liquidity into the system. And I think, within the short term, providing a lot of FPI funds, and the hope and the key drive is, long term, we want a lot of to be playing within this market, because that's what will provide a lot more stability. But I think within the short term, if we can see more elevated rates, especially within the NTB auction and subsequent NTB auctions, we should see more significant liquidity within the market.
So should we expect that the success of the auction will be to the detriment of the NGX? Because we noticed that on Monday, Tuesday, the NGX was down. We saw a little bit of rebound this intraday. We don't know if the investors will turn the way of the auction again.
So I think, again, as I said, we're patiently waiting to see, what will happen in terms of when the results are out, to see how that's going to play. I think, as you mentioned, the hope is that, we'll continue to see more flows, especially within these NTB, within the NTB auction. We know that this has been a good move, especially the last one, in terms of providing more liquidity. If we compare it against the week before, it was about a 1.3 billion increase from the previous week. So we're expecting that this would be a good move. I don't think it would be to the detriment of the NGX market. The hope is that, from both markets, we'll continue to thrive and provide more supply within our market.
Thank you so much for that. We'll certainly watch that space and see how the auction ends today. Ademola Ojutoke is a fixed income dealer with Access Bank.
Thank you for having me.